Hey you! Today we are going to be talking about Dragon Ball Super Volume 2, and again, this is a really cool anime, but it kind of really follows the same sort of plan for Resurrection of F, but there are some main changes which I'll hopefully explain in this sort of video. So let's talk about the overview. This overview is very easy. It basically starts off with the last episode of the Battle of Gods arc, where everything is like really sparkly, shiny in space, where Beerus says he's going to destroy Earth, but then falls asleep, and then we kind of jump into like maybe 1 or 2 episodes of like kind of filler to kind of like progress and move on, and then we go straight into the Resurrection of F arc, where Freiza is reborn, etc, etc. So let's all talk about what's happening. First disc is 3 hours and 28 minutes. The second disc is 1 hour and 32 minutes. The special features included are textless openings and closings, as well as trailers, and also watching Dragon Ball Z with Jason Douglas and Ian Sinclair. And I actually generally kind of like it because I like seeing behind the scenes. I kind of wish there was a ton more. I think it would be absolutely awesome if we had loads more stuff, and I'm hoping as the progression that we get going into the kind of the tournament, as well as the Goku Black, as well as Tournament of Power, I kind of think that'll be really, really cool. Let's talk about the general information. So basically what the kind of really overview, as I've probably mentioned before, is as it starts off with the last episode of the Battle of Gods, then it goes into Resurrection of F, where things have slightly changed yet again. It's still set in the same place, but there are some key differences. So one of the main kind of differences is Tagoma. I hope I said his name right, or Tagoma. He was killed in the film, but now he stays around and he helps Freiza train. But also Captain Ginyu comes back and he takes over that body of Togama. I think I've said that right, but that's something that you didn't really see in the film. You see that Goku and Vegeta train in other dimensions. I think Whis turns around and says this is the different dimension where Beerus trains. Piccolo dies for no apparent reason, and in the film, Shenron's wish of this third one wasn't used, but in the anime, it was. So those are the kind of like small details that completely change, and I think also Gohan, he changes quite a bit. I think he powers up way too much to actually draw Goku in really quickly, but I think it was a different way. I can't remember, but let's continue. I think obviously now it's going to be a little bit different while doing this sort of review, because if you've seen Resurrection F, it's exactly the same. Frieza trains. He wants to become stronger so he can beat Goku and all the others, and this is when Frieza comes to Earth, he brings all his like forces. You don't have a really cool like raw type awesome music battle like Frieza, 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 or whatever it was. This is when Goku and Vegeta are training. They become Super Saiyan Gods or Super Saiyan Blues, but they don't tell anyone until they arrive to Earth. When Frieza is there, he's explained to the Z Fighters, or are they called now S Fighters? We're going to call them Z Fighters. The Z Fighters take down all of kind of Frieza's forces, and that's kind of pretty much it. Then obviously when Goku arrives with Vegeta, this is when Goku decides to take on Frieza. He then turns into a Super Saiyan Blue. Frieza's like, oh my god, what the hell is happening? And then that's when Frieza turns into his golden form. They start fighting a little bit more. This kind of annoys Vegeta quite a lot. I do like that when Vegeta actually comes around, he actually sees Ginyu in Togama's body and it just blows him away, just like kills him completely. So he's going through all the Ginyu force. In part 3, we see a little bit more where Vegeta tries to kill Frieza, but that doesn't work, but we're still on number 2. The fight kind of lasts quite a long time. It spans over quite a few episodes, which is kind of really cool. And then it kind of finishes off where Goku gets shot through the heart by the laser beam, which again, a lot of people were like, So I don't know why that was. I'm hoping Toriyama has explained it or will explain it at some point. Let's talk about the animation. Now, the animation to me was yay and nay. It was hit and miss. You could tell at certain points that Frieza was drawn really quickly or wasn't done to the standard as what he would be normally. Sometimes you see that with Goku as well. I don't think you see it with Vegeta. I think there's a really weird one where he's like going, which I personally didn't like, or is it like that? Either way, it's weird. The animation was really nicely drawn at times. The reveal of Goku turning into a Super Saiyan Blue, as well as Vegeta turning into a Super Saiyan Blue. These were really, really cool, and they really stood out. The music worked really, really well, but at times when Frieza was in his golden form, it just, to me, didn't feel right, and I wasn't quite happy with it. But apart from that, when you see like the Z fighters attacking Freiza's forces, that was actually kind of really awesome. I also really like the backstory between Freiza, how he got stronger, how he was training with Togama, how he was like, look, you know, tomorrow we're going to train even harder, get back in that kind of like resurrection pod, you know, you're going to need that, etc, etc. It's really nice to see a bit of backstory with Freiza rather than, hey, Freiza gets out of the pod after the wish, he then arrives on Earth, he then takes out most of the Z fighters, or he hurts Gohan and Piccolo, blah blah blah, and then obviously he fights against Goku. These were all really kind of cool because, again, I really liked the backstory. Let's talk about the writing. The writing to me wasn't that bad. It felt very flowy. It felt like there wasn't that much humor like there had been previously in the last one against Battle of Gods. It was interesting to see that Freiza was like, oh, the only people that I should never go against are Majin Buu and Beerus the Destroyer. And it was really nice seeing like Freiza kind of panicking. So I really liked that in the writing. In the American dub, everything flowed really, really well. There wasn't anything that really stood out. Again, like apart from like in the first one where Goku says to Beerus, like, can you give me a minute, Super Saiyan, please? Which still I think that's one of the best lines. In the Resurrection of F Saga, there wasn't anything that I generally thought, you know what? I like this. This is standing out. Apart from the fighting, with this arc seemed more about the fighting, which seemed really, really cool. But again, I think it could have been written slightly better, maybe a few jokes in there. It was just nice to see a different stance rather than watching the film again. So let's talk about the characters. Again, it's very hard to kind of talk about the characters because they're exactly the same as what they were back in Z as well as in the previous anime. The only addition I'd say is Freiza. I like the new voice of Freiza. Back in the day of Dragon Ball Z, I was very accustomed to the kind of gritty voice Freiza that I really liked, and it would have been nice to see that transition. But obviously the voice actor or actress probably wasn't around, but the new guy, I think he's absolutely awesome, and his kind of Britishness to Freiza really stands out and is actually something that makes you think of the bad guy. So now when I see like games or anything, I now picture this voice. He is the voice of Freiza, and it actually works really, really well. I really like the way that Vegeta interacts with Freiza on a short basis. You know, also where Frieza's like, hey, you know, if you join me, I will make sure you're my leader of the Frieza Force. And Vegeta's like, oh, I kind of like that idea, but then says, no, you know, I'm not going to kill Kakarot because, you know, he's the one person that actually makes me want to get stronger. And I actually like the bond. As much as Vegeta doesn't like Goku, I know that he really likes him. What made this interesting for me? To be honest, I think the reveal of Super Saiyan Blue, if the film hadn't come out and there wasn't any screenshots, I generally think this would have been cool, and I would have liked this quite a lot. The fighting with Frieza and Goku, as well as Vegeta coming in later on, I thought it was quite interesting. I personally would have liked it if it was Vegeta. So if they turned this all around and it was Vegeta going against Frieza, and maybe Goku was the one at the very end after Sarbon had taken out Vegeta. That worked really well, but I think that would have been a major twist. I think that would have been something amazing to see, but again, this was very following the Resurrection of F. So my final thoughts. This isn't too bad. This is a very kind of stopgap. It feels like this was produced really, really quickly, and it was just brought out so then we can concentrate on the next one, which is the tournament saga. I can't remember the name of it, where you meet Kaba, Hit, you know, Frost, etc, etc. But also, it felt very over really, really quickly. It just wasn't a standard, oh, that's fine. This just to me felt really quickly done. There wasn't any kind of suspense because you knew what was happening. I think the only thing that made me like go, oh, was when Frieza actually takes down Earth. You know, he actually blows it up, and it's like, oh, okay, that's really, really weird. And I could imagine if something happened that they were able to go further on into space and actually have more adventures. But yeah, I like this one. Again, it's like the way that I would watch it is if you've just recently watched the film, don't watch the series. Watch it much later on when time has passed. If you've not watched the film, watch the series, then you don't need to watch the film. But either way, this isn't too bad. So I'm going to wrap it up there. This one was kind of a short one. It wasn't as what I thought it would be. It just seemed like a really quick saga. So Rangers, what are your thoughts on this? Have you seen the Resurrection F film as well as the saga? What are your thoughts on it? Do you like it? Let me know down below in the comments. And if you've liked this video, like, favorite, comment, and consider subscribing. Check out all the other videos on the channel. And as always, Rangers, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in a bit.